Miss Adams, and in this video we're going to talk about converting to slope-intercept form. Alright, so slope-intercept form, as you probably remember, is y equals mx plus b, where m represents your slope and b represents your y-intercept. Alright, write an equation in slope-intercept form from the given information. So the slope is 2/7 and the y-intercept is -3. I'm going to use the slope-intercept form, which is y equals mx plus b. The slope is your m, and the y-intercept is your b. So I'm just going to plug those in. So where I have m, I'm going to plug in 2/7, and where I have b, I'm going to plug in -3. And there's my equation. The next one, again, they gave me the slope and the y-intercept, so I have m and b. I'm going to plug it into slope-intercept form, which is y equals mx plus b. So it's going to be y equals -4x. I'm plugging in -4 for m, and I'm plugging in 0 for b, so I don't really need that plus 0, so I'm just going to write y equals -4x. Alright, the next one, they gave you a graph, so I can tell what the slope is if I count how much did I rise, how much did I go over, because slope is rise over run. So m would be up 3 over 4, so m is 3/4. And my y-intercept is where it's crossing the y-axis, so it's crossing the y-axis at -2. So now I have m and b. I'm going to plug it in to y equals mx plus b. So I get y equals 3/4 x minus 2. Again, I have an equation from the graph. So the graph, the slope is down 2 over 2. So -2 over 2 would become -1. And my y-intercept is crossing the y-axis at -1. So my equation is going to be y equals -1x minus 1. Or you could just write y equals -x minus 1. Either way. Alright, this one, they gave you 2x plus 5y equals 35. So this is standard form, which is ax plus by equals c. And I'm going to rearrange it to get y by itself. So I'm going to subtract 2x on both sides. That's going to give me 5y equals -2x plus 35. Then I'm going to divide everything by 5. And I get y equals -2/5 x plus 7. Alright, another one, I want to get y by itself to get it in that y equals mx plus b form. So I'm going to subtract 2x on both sides. That leaves me with a -y equals -2x plus 4. If I divide everything by a -1, that will get rid of the negative. I get y equals +2, because a negative over a negative makes a positive, minus 4. Same thing here. Subtract the x on both sides. So I'm going to have -6y equals -x minus 30. Divide everything by a -6. I get, that x really had a 1 in front of it, so I had -1 over -6, which became +1/6 x. And then -30 divided by -6 gave me a +5. So y equals 1/6 x plus 5. Alright, here's another one in standard form. I want to rearrange it into slope-intercept form. I want you to try this one on your own and actually try it. I'm going to be looking. And the answer you should get is y equals 5/4 x plus 3. Alright, this one I gave you a point and a slope. So we're going to use what's called point-slope form, which is y minus y1 equals m times the quantity x minus x1. Alright, well, I have x1 and y1 from the ordered pair, and I have m from the slope that they gave me. So I'm going to plug all those pieces in. So I have y minus -3, that was y1, equals 5/2, that's my slope, times x minus -2. Well, when I have a minus and negative, those are going to turn into positives. And then I'm going to distribute the 5/2. So when I distribute 5/2, I get y plus 3 equals 5/2 x, plus, when I do 5/2 times 2, I do 5 times 2 is 10, divided by 2 is 5. Okay, I want to get y by itself, so I'm going to subtract the 3. And I get y equals 5/2 x plus 2. Alright, and the next one, I have a point and a slope. So I'm going to use point-slope form again. I have x1, y1, and m. So it's going to be y minus -4 equals m, just slope, -3, times x minus x1. Alright, the minus and negative turns into a plus. I'm going to distribute the -3. So I get -3x plus 6, and I'm going to move the 4 to the other side. So I get y equals -3x plus 2. All right, on this one, I have 2 points, so I'm going to have to find the slope. And to find the slope, it's y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And then I'm going to use point slope form. So I have x1, y1, x2, y2. y2 is 4. Negative 4 minus y1 is 2 over x2 is 4 minus x1 is 0. So I get negative 6 over 4, which simplifies to negative 3 over 2. And I'm going to plug in x1 and y1 into my point slope form. So y minus 2 equals negative 3 halves, x minus 0. I'm going to distribute negative 3 halves. And then I'm going to add 2 to both sides. So I get y equals negative 3 halves x plus 2. All right, another one with two ordered pairs. So I'm going to find the slope, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, and then plug it into point slope form. So my slope, y2 is negative 3, y1 is negative 4, minus a negative turns into plus, x2 is negative 3, x1 is negative 2, minus a negative turns into plus. So I have 1 over negative 1, which equals negative 1. And then I'm going to use y minus y1 equals m times the quantity x minus x1. My double negatives turn into positives. I'm going to distribute that negative 1. And then I'm going to add or subtract the 4 on both sides. And I get y equals negative x minus 6.
I'm the star of the classroom.
No, you aren't.
Yeah, then why aren't you in it, Dingo?
Stop pushing.
Alright, that's going to be on YouTube.